What is going on, Comic Fam? It's your boy, the Bearded Comic Bro, and I am welcoming to the show fellow YouTuber and comic interviewer Longbox Kris, and you brought along another Kris. Welcome to the show, my friends.
Thanks, man. It's good to be here, dude.
All right, we met in person basically a month ago, and at that time, Longbox, you were like, "Hey, I'm going to be on the other end of," because you always do interviews with creators and stuff on your channel as well. You're like, "I've got a Kickstarter. You want to talk?" I was like, "Yes, as long as you bring other Kris on too."
Yeah, we're a package deal. It's the two Krises that are bringing punk rock comics out into the world. So yeah, it's had to. We've done every show together. I had to continue the trend.
Nice. So you guys are at the time of this recording, you're in the midst of a Kickstarter. When this is posted, you're going to be on the tail end of the Kickstarter. So I'm like, this podcast is like the final push, right? You've hit your goals, but you got some still stretch goals that you're trying to hit. If people are listening to this show, real quick before we get into your history with comics and stuff, I want to let people know, what is your Kickstarter? What is your comic? Was the Barricade Brigade? What is it about?
So Barricade Brigade is the story of a punk band, Hot Watermelon, who is hitting the road for the first time, and their roadie, 5, like the number 5 is his name, he wants to film the whole thing, make a documentary, and try and get it on streaming services to get Hot Watermelon out to the masses. What they don't realize is that there is a corporate monster that's trying to swoop in and buy up their favorite hometown venue. And so when they take a stand against the corporate suits, they quickly realize that they might have taken off, or might have taken a bigger swing than they initially thought they were taking. And that is the crux of this first Ash Can issue 0 that we're kickstarting. That's fully funded in 13 hours, bro.
Yeah.
That's wild. That is wild. So how have you always had a love for comics, or, and wanting to create comics, or did this kind of come later in life for you? I'll start with just spelled different.
Yeah. As a kid, I was I started reading the Archie comics, Ninja Turtles run, Zen the Intergalactic Ninja, moved into X-Men. I remember drawing truly terrible comics on my flipped over backwards book covers that they made us put on textbooks so we wouldn't hurt the precious textbooks.
Right. Yup.
But then it was literally fast forward 30 years before I was like, I really, really want to do that. So
and what about you then, Longbox?
So I have always been a comic fan. I've been reading comics as long as I think I've been reading. Similarly, I have still my original beaten up copies of the Archie Ninja Turtles run. Still have plenty of my X-Men books, and plenty of Valiant comics. Those were the other comics that really got me into it. And then Savage Dragon from Image. And so I always have been into it, and I've, done the peaks and valleys of I don't care getting made fun of. I'm getting made fun of a lot. Oh, girls. And then I'm just going to be me and go back to reading comics because I love comics. And so when I got back into them as an adult, I was very much I just want to get back into them. I missed this thing. And I've always drawn other stuff. I remember drawing Dragon Ball Z cards and just sitting in my buddy's basement, redrawing every card that we had. And so I've always done that, but I never thought I could make my own comics until probably the last 5 or so years, when I've gotten more and more into comics and the craft and making them and how it's made and understanding the process. And as I got further into it, I was like, I could totally do this. I think I want to do this. And so I started writing down ideas, and around the same time that I was starting the show, and then Just Spelled Different reached out and was like, "Hey man, you've talked on your show about having ideas for comics, and I want to make comics, and I can do art, and you said you want to write, so let's do a thing." And I was like, "Yeah, let's do a thing." And so here we are.
Nice. And if you're listening via Spotify or something, the writer Kris is named Longbox, and the artist Kris is still Kris, but we have him on the show is just spelled different. So, so if you're wondering like who we're talking about, but if you're watching on YouTube, you fully understand. And this segment was not for you, so we're letting that know for the audio listeners. So hang in there. I was just about to ask and leave it to Longbox to segue in as an interviewer himself, right into my next question of like, how did you guys get hooked up? So just spelled different. Like, did you always just like were you following along with Longbox's content and you're like, because it sounds like you were like, hey, I heard you like want to write, like, so kind of where was that approach for you to like, I want to reach out and start something?
I seriously picked drawing back up probably closing in on 2 years ago now.
Okay.
So maybe a year before I stumbled across other Kris. This time you're the other.
That's right.
On Threads, started listening to the show, started tuning into Box Talk on Wednesdays. And he kept talking about how he wants to make a comic, but I can't draw my way out of a paper bag, is what he likes to say. And I was just like, I'd finally hit the point of just like, I don't care anymore. Either you're going to like it or you're not, and that's fine either way, because I'm enjoying creating the art. Had started reaching out to people, and this was one of the first ones, and I'm kind of surprised I got a yes still.
So is it true, Longbox, you can't draw out of a paper bag? And is there proof of that?
Listen, there's plenty of proof. If you look anywhere on my Instagram, there's plenty of proof. At this point, thanks to Just Spelled Difference encouragement, because I'm for sure calling you that the rest of the time.
I love that. That is just moving forward. Like we've just rebranded both of you.
Yeah, so it's perfect. I know what my style is. It's very scratchy. It's very rough around the edges, and I like that. I can't help, like, I try and draw the super clean art, and I'm just like, nah, it needs more. And then I start scratching in my scribbles, and then I'm like, yeah, there it is. And it just looks like a scratchy mess, honestly, half the time. But like, I like doing it. And for everybody that comes on my show, I send them like a handwritten thank you note. And I do like my punkified is what I call my style, because it is an excuse. It excuses away the like roughness of it. But like my punkified take on something that we talked about, a panel from their comic or a cover or something, like who knows? But I always do that type of thing. And so I really enjoy, I have fun with it. Like I just do Sharpies. And I don't do the like pencil to ink to coloring to whatever. I'm just like, nah, just keep it rough. Like I know it's going to be rough, so that's what it is. But Just Spelled Different encouraged me to like, dude, you have a style. Like, what are you talking about? You can't draw. You can draw. It's just your style. And like hearing someone else tell me that like, oh, I have my thing. I don't need to draw in a style that I think is like I realized I was trying to emulate and like draw similarly to, the like McFarlane's, the Jim Lee's, like all of these artists that I grew up reading and who I love their style. It's like, I don't need to draw like them. I need to draw like me. And like, that was so insanely freeing, just having that shift of perspective. So now I'm like, okay, like I can draw, but it's at this point just kind of a joke of like, I can't draw my way out of a paper bag because I'm still working on the confidence thing. But yeah,
well, and I love though that you guys encourage each other, and you're bringing out the best in both. I also want to side note, because I know some of the creators that I've had on listen to the podcast still. I'm sorry I'm not as nice as Kris and write you all handwritten notes and send you stuff, but it's not going to happen at any point. So if you want that, go. I have a great podcast for you to go on. It's called Longbox. If you want handwritten notes from me, it's not happening.
Yeah, I actually have one that I'm about to mail out to China right here. So
See,
it's got a sketch, but I don't want to show it off because I always want them to see it first.
I
Which is why I don't
respect that.
post any of them. Like I have I take a picture every single time, and then I do nothing with it, and I don't know.
Yeah, but
Sometimes I look
that's
back
for
and
you.
like,
That's for you and the creators. So,
Yeah.
so tell me about this idea. It sounds like it's been floating in your head for a while. You know, Just Spell Different reached out to you. Longbox, you're like, hey, let's make this kind of here. How was it? Did you land on like this story that this is the one that you guys wanted to tell together?
So the together is the key there, right?
Yeah.
So he reached out. We did some initial texting back and forth, like, on the dating app of like, do you like punk rock? I like punk rock.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, if we're gonna like be serious about this, let's FaceTime. And like, you know what I look like and sound like, but I have no idea what you sound like at all. And so we FaceTimed, and it was
comic book
awkward.
dating. Oh, I love
It really
it.
was. It was getting to know you. So we FaceTime. It was awkward, and I love telling this story because it's so funny now. Like we FaceTimed, and literally this is how it went. So, comics, huh? Yeah? You want to make some? You want to make some? Let's. Cool. Okay, so like, here's what I was thinking for comics, and like, that's how it started. And I just was like, "You're punk rock Kris on socials. I'm Longbox Punk. Clearly, we're both aging punks. We both have awesome hair. So like, why don't we do a comic about a punk band?" And if I learned anything from Scooby-Doo, it's that humans are the monsters. So why don't we have our villain be this big corporate, like in the very DIY mindset? Because it's not just like a fad or like a cliche thing that we try and live into. It's just ingrained in us. Like, do it yourself, be the small business. The big corporations are the problem. And like, the only way that we fixed it is to do it ourselves. And so like, big corporations want to buy stuff up, and it literally has happened right here in my hometown of them snatching up little companies here and there and leveling them, putting in parking lots, putting in, bigger like buildings and apartments and whatever. And they're squashing all of these small businesses. And so that kind of played into it. And I was like, okay, so what if, and like, I'm saying all of this stuff, and he's like, cool. You like horror comics too, right? And I was like, I love horror comics. Yes. And he was like, so how do we incorporate horror? Like, what do we have monsters? Do we have, and so it just kind of spiraled, and we figured out how to work it into it, but it's been an ongoing, I have more texts with Just Spelled Different than I do like my wife or my daughter in my phone. Cause we're constantly texting back and forth, sending each other pictures or inspirations, or like, hey, I just read this comic, like check out this freaking 5-page section. And like, it's 5 pictures of pages of comics, where we're just sharing ideas. And so it was like, I typed out the script, but it's very much like the Marvel approach to making comics, where like we had ideas of what we wanted to do. He started thumbnailing as I was like giving him some rough, like, okay, so page 1, we need to introduce the band. Page 2, we need to see inside the venue. Page 3, we need to have the concert. Page 4, we need to have the confrontation. Page 5, we need to have this. Page 6, we have that. And I get very vague because there's like, we're keeping the turn that we have like super secret under wraps. We're not telling anybody. You just have to back the book to find out.
They didn't even tell me, gang. I tried to get it out of them earlier. They put up pictures over the spoilers for me. I tried to get it. So I don't even know. So this isn't just fluff. They're keeping it secret. It's top secret. You got to back it.
That's right. Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
That's right.
But yeah, so like it just kind of happened. And so he started doing thumbnails, which for me, as like, I helped create this thing, and then seeing it come to life is one of the wildest experiences of all time. And now I'm like, it's the best drug in the world. Like, I want this experience and this feeling all the time. And like, we got to a point where we had 6 pages, and it was like, I don't think that the ending like sticks the landing, because we want it to be, everything we've done is super intentional. We want it to be a fully contained story, even though it's 8 pages. Right? Like, we don't want it to just be, well, here's the first 8 pages of a larger narrative, so come back in 8 months when we have a larger narrative. Like, no. You can just read the 8 pages and have a complete story, understand who's involved, what it's about, what the antagonist is, and like what the world follows. We're going to do way more with it in the next chapter, but for this first one, like it's its own whole thing, but we added 2 more pages, and like creating those 7 and 8 page numbers was so easy because we were both like, yeah, okay, so we need to bring this to a better resolution. What if we do this, and we have this happen? Cool. I'm going to tweak this part. And like, it was just it's ongoing dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just spell different for you, like, you know, when you're reaching out to Longbox, you know, to say, hey, let's do this comic for you. You know, your art style has a kind of punk feel to me as I'm looking at it. Like, you know, it's like, it's just a really unique punk feel, and I love it. Where did that kind of like, did that help inspire the story for you both? Or like for you, like, how did you kind of just find your style?
Wow. I don't know that did the art style inform it. I don't know that it did. I think we were very story first at the beginning of this. And to be honest, I'm sitting to back up a little bit to the point of thumbnailing, and I'm going, oh God, I know how scratchy, how terrible these look. He's going to say, and he's going to back out.
I leaned in instead.
You did. But I think, you know, I spent a lot of time drawing Ninja Turtles, drawing X-Men. I do a lot of DIY stuff besides this. I build guitar pedals. I built my own guitar amp. I built my guitar. Like, and none of it is super flashy, it's just like, I like bright colors. I like to offset that with like dull stuff. And I did it all by hand. Even the color was just completely by hand in this book. So that lent itself to the overall feel and look as well.
Yeah. Do you have like artists or, you know, comics that kind of inspired you, you know, as you started to get into crafting your art form?
Okay. I would say things like Jim Lee, Andy Kubert, those guys. But like, I also have come to realize that is not necessarily something I can pull off. And about the time that I realized that as an adult, like, could I get there? Maybe. Would it feel the same? No. I started getting real into the band Harley Poe, and Joe Whiteford does some great horror art, and that's where I really started picking up drawing heavily again, was with doing horror stuff.
Nice. So, Longbox, for you as, you know, podcaster, you're interviewing creators all the time. Was there a point when you're, you know, like, it sounded like you were talking about this for a long time, like you've got ideas. How much of interviewing creators helped you kind of figure out your craft as well, of like the process of, I know you said you've written, but like writing for a comic and kind of creating that, you know, how much did you pull from creators that you talked to like help this process?
97.7%. Yeah. A vast majority of it. Honestly, I like part of why secret time, part of why I started doing this show was to learn how to make comics. Like, I wanted to talk to creators, and I wanted to figure out, like, get the behind the curtain aspect of making comics. And like, I'm that type of person. Like, I grew up going to Catholic Mass. I was one of the altar boys. And so like, I knew all of the elements of service. I fast forward into high school. I was on stage and working backstage, doing set design, doing, you know, lighting, doing audio, doing rigging, all that stuff. In college, I started doing radio because I liked radio. And so I was like, well, how does that work? And so I started producing audio and making videos and shooting, like using video cameras and stuff like that. And I still do that now for like local college sports. And I, you know, worked backstage as like a tech at a church. And so I was helping to orchestrate the entire service, like from start to finish, And so with comics, it was like, well, it's only natural that I Tony Stark and blow it up and take it. Like, how does writing a script work? How is that different than just writing prose, which is drastically different, turns out. Because I'd always only ever done like prose, like short story stuff. I've done some poetry. Like, another fun fact, I like to write haikus. Like, that's just a thing that I like doing. And I have never done anything with them. I never planned to do anything with them. I just like doing them for me because, like, that's the fun of creating for me. Is it's fun to do. I don't care if 10 people see it or no people see it or 100 people see it. I just had fun doing it. And like with the sketch cards for my guests, I just have fun doing it. So I'm going to keep, I don't care if they get in there like, what is this trash? Or like, whatever. I had fun doing it. So like, that's why it matters to me. And now with comics, it's like, I want to put out the best possible thing I can because I'm enjoying the process. And so like, yeah, there's a ton to learn with setting up a Kickstarter. And so as Spell Different was working on the artwork and finishing up the covers and the coloring and the lettering and all that stuff, I was like, okay, so logistically, how does Kickstarter work? How do we set up a campaign page? What do I have to have for, cost and shipping and items and add-ons and rewards? Like, I was doing all of that logistical stuff. And even though it was work and there was a lot to learn, I loved every minute of it because I knew it was getting me closer to making this comic book a reality. I don't remember your initial question. I hope that I got close.
No, you got there. You answered it. You answered it like 10 minutes ago.
Okay, great.
As if you pulled creating from comic creators. And then you just kept going and
Cool.
just spelled different. Now you're just sitting there like, this is good stuff. Like, keep going. Like, no, it's all good. So the question I got to ask for both of you, you're writing a punk rock comic. You're drawing a punk rock comic, right? How much? It's probably different. I'm assuming it might be different for both, but maybe it's not. Do you listen to punk rock music while you create? Or are you one of those that like, no, I can't create with music in the background?
Headphones on.
Yeah.
Headphones
okay.
on, loud the whole time.
I wouldn't say loud the whole time for me, but I definitely want to listen to it. And that's like I've written like sci-fi scripts too, and I'm listening to like cyber, like synthwave stuff when I'm writing that. Like,
which I could get that. I could get that. But like, yeah. I'm thinking like words though would mess me up if I was trying to write.
No.
I can see that.
I put on stuff that I'm not familiar enough to know all of the words, so that I can just fall into the like white noise background.
So like, you're not putting on Pink Pony Club while you're writing, because like otherwise you'd be singing along with it. And
assuming I know what that is, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's such a punk answer to not know what Pink Pony Club is.
No idea what that is. I'm not listening to any of the Clash because I know all of those words. I'm not listening to any Blink-182, but I'll absolutely crank through the entire discography of the Buzzcocks. Like that, yeah, okay. That puts me in the mood. It gets the punk setting, and I don't know any of those words. It's just fun to listen to.
Nice. So I love that kind of process of like, it builds for you. How is this process of creating a comic? Has it changed your approach for like when this is issue 0? You guys have more story to tell. Have you already said like, okay, I'm going to learn from this approach from, the issue 0 for the next chapter on, writing art or the art style or how you guys collaborate?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We were heading into campaign and I'm like, we've got ideas for how to put together the next story arc. And it started just clicking and we've got the outline. I wrote the outline. Kris has already started fleshing out some of the stuff that I hadn't started fleshing out. Like, I'm not even touching art at this point on that because, again, story first.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. What about you, Longbox? Any changes that you've learned like in this just initial process of this 8-page issue 0?
So one of the things that I want to be more intentional with in the first like chapter that we're doing is I want to have a better grasp on dialogue before he starts with the page layouts and stuff so that we know what the characters are going to be saying, so that like his art doesn't have to worry about like, oh, I got to cut this thing down or whatever to make space for the balloon, for the, for the speech bubble. Like having the dialogue, I think will help inform the placement of some of the panels, and we can use it to like even enhance the overall like visual appeal of the book, because it'll then be part of the artwork instead of just like, this again is like, I didn't do any of the artwork on the book. So I like, it's just my experience of like, it feels like we're talking about, hey, I know you already have that, but like, can we shift this word bubble over here? And can we change the order of these two? And like, cause he's doing everything analog. So if he's already got it on the page, like now he has to redo that entire panel. It's not just like, click, right click, cut, copy, paste, and like change it. It's like he has to redo that whole thing, and I don't want to waste his time of like doing something that we talked about only for them to see it and then be like, "Ooh, actually, can we?" Like, because we had those conversations, and every time I was like, I hate to be that guy, but can we do it this way instead? Like, there's one specific panel that I know I'm thinking of that was like, we need to have that at the top. And how it is currently, there's no room for it. So like, you have to redo that whole panel. Sorry. And he was
but
like,
it was
no,
at
that's
pencils. Yeah, it was at pencils. It was literally no big deal.
So you're still
It
at the
feels like a
pencil
big deal.
stage. You're still at the pencil stages on that. Like it's not like, oh hey, it's fully inked and colored, and then like, so there's some giveaway. So like Longbox is making it sound like he made you rewrite 8 pages, draw 8 pages completely. So I appreciate the clarification there.
Yeah, a panel in pencil only. It was fine. But
it felt like a lot.
To save that time by already having the dialogue nailed down will save a lot of time.
Yeah. So what's the process for like you both of when you're approaching this comic? Like the dialogue, I know, just spelled different. You've mentioned a lot of times like the story first. So do you guys FaceTime to, how do you get in the craft of like working together and figuring out the story and the process for you both?
So initial FaceTime, lots and lots of text. Honestly, a lot of the dialogue was done and this kind of reinforces that point. A lot of the dialogue was done by me as I was drawing, because we had the story, but we hadn't finalized dialogue. And some of it we had a good idea on, but some of it was very much just like, okay, I need to throw these words in here. And like, it works. But if we can nail that down and tune it, that'll make it so much nicer.
Yeah. And that's for sure something I put on my shoulders, because like he's already drawing the entire thing, right? Like the least I can do is throw in some lines of dialogue. Because there were some that I knew specifically that I was like, no, this one panel has to have like these lines of dialogue. This information needs to be exchanged. And so there were some moments like that. Others were literally like, I don't know, Sarah will lead the band here, and like we will have someone introduce him here. But like he filled in the words as he was going, and then would send it to me, and it was either like, yep, nailed it, or like, can we change this sentence to this sentence? So yeah, that's why I'm like, dialogue, man. Like that's the
kind of get that processed out first. And
yeah. And this isn't something that we've talked about until like right now.
Yeah, you're making us talk about things.
Good. This is what I'm here for.
But yeah, it's
this is comic counseling here.
It is, and I'm working.
First, we started out with a comic Tinder date. Now we're at the comic counseling part.
Yes.
If you could just give me words, that'd be great. I'm trying to communicate with you.
I mean, in the sake of being in counseling here and talking, I have to be honest. I was a little offended by the band name Hot Watermelon. As someone who is allergic to watermelon, this is right. Like I'm supposed to like champion this book, and like this book could kill me. Like, which means this is the most punk rock thing ever, right? To be hyping up a book that could kill me. So
that's right. Take your chances.
Right. Yeah. So how'd you come up with Hot Watermelon? That's what I want to know. I feel like there's a story behind there, especially your reaction there, Longbox.
So that was one of the things that was all me. I did college radio, and I did a show under a fake name. I used a terrible fake accent, and I played music that I didn't play on my personal show. I had like 3 different shows in college radio because I love doing it. And the show I called the fake show Hot Watermelon because to me, like that idea just is funny. Like the idea of like cooked watermelon is so funny to me. And it's something unexpected. And so that's why I went with the name in college, and I was like, we need a band name. You know what I still have rattling around in my head? Hot Watermelon. And I just like put it in. We didn't even talk about it. I fully just put it into the script and just ran with it and kept going. And he was like, I love that. What the hell? And I'm like, cool. Yeah. It was an old college radio show name. Don't worry about it. There's no connection to the name. I just think it's fun to say and fun to think about. And now we have a fun hashtag, and like it's working, and people are posting pictures with watermelons that are going to go into the book.
That's so good. That's so good. That's also why I've not participated in that trend of holding a watermelon.
That's fair. They have inflatable watermelons.
There we go. See? Okay. And I don't know, in my defense too, I only know I'm allergic to cold watermelon. I don't know if hot watermelon would change the game or not. So I don't know. I don't want to take that chance though, because no way, it doesn't sound appealing either way.
Yeah, I don't want you to have to be like EpiPenned or something.
It sounds like a lose-lose. Either I'm not allergic to hot watermelon or I have to eat hot watermelon. So yeah, I don't think it's a win here at all.
You get a pass, I guess.
Yeah. So is there anything about this book, this Kickstarter that we haven't gotten to talk about as we're heading into the end of our time here?
Do you have anything just spelled different?
I think you've got it pretty nailed down on what is left to talk about.
I don't know what you mean. Say what you mean, and then we'll see if it's the same.
our super secret.
No, yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it. That wasn't what I was going to talk about.
It's your stuff, so I think you should.
Ooh. All right, so 2 things.
I'm making them communicate again, gang.
I know.
What we do.
So the first thing, my initial thought was everything that we've done with this book is intentional. Like we're super intentional with having this be an 8-page complete story. We're super intentional about representing our family heritage in the characters in the book. So like I have traced my lineage all the way back to my super great ancestor who came over on the Mayflower. I know the names of every family member that fought in every great war that we've had as a nation until my generation, who were the only ones that didn't do it because we all have asthma. So part of that lineage, though, is that we have ancestors. My great-great-grandmother was part of the Abenaki tribe in New Hampshire. And they're not one of the main recognized tribes in America because there's a weird divide between the Canadian Abenaki and the North American Abenaki and like who's authentic and whatever. But like I can trace my family back to that tribe. And so that matters to me. And I've been doing a lot of reading and research on just the tribe in general. And so like Tolba, our drummer, is part of the Abenaki Nation, and his battle jacket has the Abenaki crest on the back of it, and we're going to lead into that going forward. And then Mick is Hispanic to honor Kris's heritage of being Hispanic. And so like we're super intentional with the representation that we've got, and it's only going to continue as we get deeper into the stories. The other thing that he was alluding to is, so we had this weird thing happen where we hit all of our stretch goals that we announced. We had set like this super insane stretch goal of $1,500. And if we get there, we're going to expand the print of the book. So everybody's going to now get 12 pages. It's 8 pages of story and then 4 pages of our watermelon groupies, which are the people posting pictures with the watermelons, except for the bearded bro, because we don't EpiPen.
Ooh, could you pose with an EpiPen?
Ooh, I'll find a way. I'll find a way.
All right. But
Don't worry, my kids make me cut watermelon still, so it's
perfect. Just get a picture there, or just have your kids do the watermelon. That's fine.
There we go.
We have a couple pets that are going to the book. So with that, like, because we funded in 13 hours, we very quickly were like, we're not changing any of our stretch goals, because the fact that it's finding its audience is insane, and we love the support, and we love the people that are taking a chance on a couple of aging crusty punks. And so we're not changing it. And so we want to give everybody as much as possible. So there's 6 free digital comics that everybody's going to get. There's free stickers that people are going to get. And then the addition of all the watermelon groupies. Well, because we hit 1,500, there's one additional stretch goal that we didn't announce, that we're announcing here and in the update that goes out tonight of the recording. So like technically backers are already going to know if they read, but everybody else isn't going to know until they watch this. Is at $1,800, which is 300% of our funding goal. We're going to include a 4-pack of mini zines with every single order, physical and digital. And each mini zine is going to focus on a different character. So we've got our trio of the band, and then we've got 5, which is the roadie, and then we've got Mick, Tolba, and Sarah. There's going to be a zine focusing on each of them, on like how they first picked up or got involved with making music. And I'm doing those. I'm doing the like writing of them. I'm doing the artwork on all of them, because he was like, you do the thing, man. And so I'm doing the thing. And so I'm making mini zines. And if we hit 300% funding, everybody's going to get all 4 of those zines included with their orders.
That's awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Real excited about it. And like, honestly, I made that first zine the day after we met at Space, because I was just like, zines are the coolest freaking thing.
You got inspired by Space. It's a really cool indie con.
I need to do this thing. And so I went to my local brewery, had a couple beers, and, cranked out a couple of the first one. And I've just been tinkering around with the other 3 since.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Well, man, Kris and Kris, thank you both just for taking some time to talk about comics. Where can people follow along? Obviously, the link, if you're watching this, is in the description of the YouTube video. Click that Kickstarter, back it. And also, if you're listening online, podcast, Spotify, all that stuff, like, it'll be in the description there as well. But where can people follow along with you and what you guys are working on and doing?
So mine are real easy, at Longbox Punk, everywhere. Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram. Honestly, well, that's not everywhere. Those are the 3 places that I'm active, I'll say.
Yep.
And YouTube, check out the show where I talk to other creatives.
And then for me, everywhere but YouTube that Kris already listed, Punk Rock Kris, 2Ks. It's very important. Not too many, not too few.
That's right. Yeah, honestly, if you type in Punk Rock K, he comes up every time. He's the only one that has that start of a handle. So
it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Well, thank you both just for taking some time to talk about comics with me. Gang, go back to Kickstarter, support it. And with that being said, hopefully you can find some time to curl up, grab a book, and nerd out. Peace.
bye.